All right, boys, I've got a question for you.
Shoot.
Does that look smooth and inviting?
Not really.
No, not at all.
Not at
Doesn't
all.
at all. It's prickly. It's hard. Oh, you probably get a bit of a rash if you're rubbing up against that for a while. That's why Any Given Sunday Australia is happy to be supported by one of Australia's fastest growing men's grooming brands, Nutcare. Proudly Australian, Nutcare is taking down under grooming to the modern man. Recently voted number 1 by Men's Health magazine with Bare Nuts pubic hair removal cream. Nut Cream is revolutionising male grooming. As proud partners of Any Given Sunday Australia, you can use the code Any Given Sunday at the checkout, and that'll get you 10% off your products like your Bare Nuts or hair removal cream. Or what did you get, Danny? What were the jocks called?
The comfy nuts, and oh my god, are they comfy?
And was it sweet nuts as well?
Sugar nuts.
Sugar nuts.
Yep.
Yeah. So don't forget, code Any Given Sunday at checkout, and that's going to get you 10% off.
You're obviously using that Bare Nuts all the time because that was as smooth can be.
Yeah, not prickly like this fella.
I look forward to seeing next week when that prickle bush is completely smooth.
Brown 45! Brown 45! Hot, 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 hot!
You are listening to Any Given Sunday Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number 1 podcast in at least 3 households, the Gridiron Australia headquarters, and still in Winnipeg. Still number 1 in Winnipeg, boys, so well done. We've laid off a little bit in Mumbai, but Winnipeg, we've definitely jumped through the roof. Joining us, as always, in his basement, down in the abyss, TC24 at Tim Cardy, AGSAU, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm on the road to recovery. I've had a little bit of a head cold. I might sound a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit husky. I don't know if you could tell. It's a little bit sexy.
Goes with the beard.
Husky
Sexy
word.
blues.
Blues. Our female audience are going to go
I'm on the way out of it, so I'm on the way up. Feeling good, though.
That's good to hear, mate. And also, junior man turned senior man. You're a man these days.
Oh,
at Danny Webb, GSAU. You're no longer a boy. You're a man. You are a man.
Not only am I senior, I'm no longer a boy. I'm now a man. Which is
You are a man. Congratulations, mate. Well done. Good work.
It's what I've always wanted. Thank you, Tmac.
Where have I gone? Am I still there with you? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good. I disappeared. I went black screen. I'm good. We're back. Well done on last week. Good little episode. Have you copped much heat on the Twitterverse, Danny, or not much?
I haven't copped any heat, but you sure have.
Well, I don't know.
With your bold predictions, no one's happy with you having the Titans at 3 and what have you had them at?
I know what you're talking about. The Colts 11-6 every day of the week.
Yeah. No, you definitely copped some heat, which is good. It's nice to see the heat go on you for once.
Every week. But I was a little bit disappointed with my video of me playing golf, giving my predictions. I hit it straight down the middle, and the boys laughed at me.
How far did it go?
Oh, it was about 240. Wasn't too bad.
Down the middle, just past the ladies, or
No. It did. It was it was a good drive, but it was a little shit ball. So I reckon it was a little bit underdone. It was probably 300 if it's a Pro V1.
I was sus. You couldn't see the ball very well. I thought
it was a bright green one. It was deliberately well hidden, very well hidden. But no, it was definitely straight. Definitely straight as. Don't you bloody worry about that. We move on to this week. We've got the NFC North, my division. So I probably should just sit out and listen to you boys because I'll be very biased, obviously.
That's what the people come for, though.
Yes, they do love that. I've got the Packers all lined up. We're good. I haven't got me Aaron Rodgers still up there, just sitting there waiting. But it's still a bit of a touchy point. So let's not bring him up at all this episode. The first half of this preview brought to you by the good people at C2C. And we have a bit of an update with C2C. So they have a lot of good rare threads, but they have awesome shoes as well. A lot of Jordans, a lot of Nike shoes. Previously, our 10% code didn't work on the shoes because they have such a small margin, they were telling me. But they said so many people are trying to use the code on the sneakers that they've decided that it's not quite 10%, but $10 off every time you put towards the shoes, which is huge because huge for them because, like I said, they're not huge margins. So the fact that they're still willing to use the code Any Given Sunday on those shoes is huge. So get on there and check out the sneaker range as well.
Absolutely, we'll be jumping on for sure. You'll be watching both Carts and I come in the next episode, just Rocking our Jays.
Brand new pair of Jays. This week, I am starting with the last season. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct. So I get to pick the order. So we obviously know who's going to go last. We're going to go from the bottom and then skip one and then go and then come back. So we're going to start with the Bears. The Bears last year.
Already.
The Bears last year wasn't their very best season. They end up with 4-13 on the year. Their best win probably come at the start of the year. They beat San Fran in absolutely torrential rain. So not much to go by in going for the rest of the year because it was, I think it was pretty much a power run game. There was not much throwing at all, especially for San Fran. But yeah, not the best year for the Bears, 4-13. Yeah, it's pretty much all I have on that.
Yeah, well, obviously Justin Fields was running the ball way more than they actually really wanted. Didn't really have many options, and we'll talk about like what they've brought in to kind of fix that as far as his passing game's concerned.
Absolutely. Who's got the ins and outs? Danny, it's you, isn't
Danny
it?
boy.
Oh, we're just going straight. You're not going through the whole thing, Roger.
Was I going to go through the whole season? I'll just tell you how that's what they had, and that's all it was.
That's what we're going with. So I'm super prepared, and we'll start with their draft. So in the first round, pick number 10, the Bears drafted Darnell Wright from Tennessee. In the second round, 53rd pick, Jervon Dexter, senior from Florida. 56th pick, quarterback, Tyreek Stevenson from Miami. And then the draft kind of goes on. But the major ins, like the important one I reckon that we're probably going to talk about the most is then bringing in the wide receiver, DJ Moore, because they had the number one pick and traded with the Panthers, and that was one of their pieces that were getting back, which is absolutely huge. They've also brought in the linebacker, Tremaine Edwards from the Bills.
Yeah, it's a good pickup too.
Huge pickup because he's a two-time Pro Bowler. The linebacker, TJ Edwards from the Eagles, which hurt me. Guard Nate Davis from the Titans. Edge rusher Rasheem Green from the Texans. Running back Deontay Foreman from the Panthers. Defensive end Demarcus Walker from the Titans. Tight end Robert Tonyan from the Packers.
Big Bobby Tonyan. Yeah, big tight end. That hurt too.
Anything to make the Packers bleed is great.
Yeah, thanks,
defensive tackle Andrew Billings from the Raiders. And they're out. They lost David Montgomery to Detroit, which is huge, like an interdivisional loss there, which is big. And then their linebacker, Nicholas Morrow, to Philly.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, a couple of big ends, especially those first two that you mentioned. I think Tremaine Edmonds coming in is going to be huge for them as well. So, Carts, are you? What are they looking? Who have they got week one? Do they have the Packers week one? Traditionally,
they are at Chicago, but they got the they got your Packers
week.
Right,
so that's a W for our boys. That's a good start to the year.
I actually had that pegged as one of their 5 big games too. So they've got obviously finishing down the lower end of the division. They've got what should be the softer schedule. But even just looking at it, it's hard to see them winning a lot of their games. We'll get into the over-unders a bit towards the end of the episode, but just 5 big games for them. Obviously, week 1 against you guys at home, week 2 at Tampa Bay. I think just traveling, even though we touched on Tampa Bay, we think they're going to struggle a bit this year, but I've earmarked a few of the away games that the Bears are playing, a few of those probably lesser sides that in the other divisions that earmarked that are probably games that they should expect to win, but just because they're away games, again, week 5 at the Commanders, week 15 at the Browns, playing those probably weaker sides, but just danger games, I think, just being on the road. And then week 10, they've got Carolina at Chicago. We're expecting a much improved Carolina next year, like just within this circle we are. So just, 5 sort of maybe danger games for them that, looking at their schedule, even though it is a little bit softer than the others in what is going to be a pretty tight division, it's just hard to see them winning a lot of games. And, those danger games on the road, I think, are ones to watch out for the Bears.
Yeah, I think they've definitely, especially what they've brought in, it looks like they've taken a step forward. But, whether it's this year or next year, it obviously falls a lot on Justin Fields and what he can do and whether he can start to sling the ball around or whether he's going to be more of the running type quarterback.
And that's the thing, like they had the option at the draft, they had the number 1 pick, they had the option to either draft a new franchise quarterback or stick with Fields. They've seen improvement, so they've stuck with Fields. So it's time to starting to put the pieces around him.
Yeah, they're just trying to figure out whether he's going to take a similar leap to like kind of what Jalen Hurts did last year, and that's what they're hoping for. So you give him more options like DJ Moore, you give him a better line, an improved O line. So then he's actually not like he has the opportunity to sit in the pocket and actually throw the ball. So then we can actually see what he can do. If he can be a throwing threat and a running threat, well then the Bears are definitely going to be contending.
Yeah, but enormous year for him. I don't think if he has another off year, Justin Fields could be in the firing line. I think.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. This is his year to prove that they did the right thing by trading away the number 1 pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Faith. And they've got the bye in week 13, so a lot of football before the bye, and then a decent five game run home.
Yeah, nice little reset to finish off the season. Yeah. Right, we'll go on to the Lions. We'll skip my Packers. We'll leave them for last because I feel like there's going to be a bit of chat about them. The Lions. So they had. Carts, you and I especially early, were very, very bullish on them. And I think they, by all standards, they had a winning season. They had a good year and they should be pretty happy with the year, but they want to take that next step now. They finished 9-8. 2 big wins they did have. So they beat the Packers, which they haven't done in Detroit. I can't think of their stadium name at the moment. But they also beat us in the last game, which was huge. Because at the time, we didn't know it was either them, us, or the Seahawks who went through. By the time the game started, we knew the Seahawks had won, and if the Lions couldn't get through, but they were still playing for a spot in the playoffs. So, and a huge win. They trounced us really in the last game and sent Aaron Rodgers and about 25 of our players out on a loss, which was great. So,
and they went in just like absolute dogs, like knowing that. Like you said, they knew before the game didn't even start. The Seahawks were through, but they just wanted to make sure the Packers couldn't get through. Because if the Packers had won, the Seahawks were out. So rather, I love that. Love that fight. Love that commitment. Take down a divisional team and make sure they can't get into the get into the playoffs. It was huge. Yeah. It's absolutely huge for the Lions.
So they did have a few big wins. Oh, huge. And it is a huge rivalry. Ford Field? Is that there? I can't think of it.
Yeah, I just had a look at Ford Field.
Yeah, sweet. Lucky. I'm glad I remembered.
And the Lions is big because they started off the season 1-6 and then closed out 8-2. So if they can keep that mentality going, and they've obviously made some big moves, which we'll get to in a bit, but if they can keep that mentality going, it's hopefully it's only up from here for them.
Yeah, I think they have this year. They've put a bit of an expectation on themselves now. Dan Campbell's got the boys up and about, and I reckon the Lions fans they're not just wanting to make the playoffs; they want to win a playoff game this year. I reckon. Yeah,
because when was the last time they won a playoff game? Was it?
They haven't won one
90s?
A long time.
I reckon it's 98. If I was to guess, that's a very, very long time. Speaking of the Lions, what they've brought in, they drafted a running back in the first round at pick 12, which is going to be huge for him. Jamar Gibbs coming out of Alabama. That's good. Massive pickup for them because they obviously traded they traded Swift to Philly. So it's a huge pickup for them to get a decent running back in the first round. Also in the first round, they had pick 18. They took linebacker Jack Campbell from Iowa, tight end Sammy Laporta, also from Iowa. That was round 2, pick 34. Round 2, pick 45. They took cornerback Brian Branch. And then round 3, pick 68, they took quarterback Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. So that was the top 5.
That's a future play, that one, Hendon.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people saw him potentially even going higher than the third round. So the fact that he fell to the third round, they grabbed him. It's going to be great for the Lions, I think. So some big ins. They got the defensive back, which from Philly, once again, losing more players. CJ Gardner-Johnson. It's going to be huge.
Ooh, that is a big loss.
As we spoke about before, the running back, David Montgomery, came from the Bears. Cornerback, Cameron Sutton from the Steelers. Cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley from the 49ers. Wide receiver, Melvin Jones Jr. from the Jags. And then the major outs were the wide receiver, DJ Clark. He went to the Panthers. Running back, Jamal Williams, went to New Orleans. The safety, Deshaun Elliott, went to Miami. And cornerback, Mike Hughes, went to Atlanta.
Again, just a good supportive bunch, not just on the defense, but on the offense too. Like Marvin Jones, just a good third or fourth stringer. Like you said, bringing in Jahmyr Gibbs. They also lost Jamal Williams as well. He went down to New Orleans, so a real inside kind of guy, like a locker room kind of guy. I mean, like really brings the boys up and about. So yeah, but some good ins just to shore up that defense, and then some more weapons to help out Jared Goff as well.
Yeah, and people are talking about Jared Goff, like is he a top 5 QB in the NFC? And like, there's definitely an argument that can be made that he is with the way they finished out the season. They're definitely talking about Jamar Gibbs being able to receive on like some shallow, short plays, kind of be like a Christian McCaffrey or a Deebo Samuel. So it'd be interesting to see how he actually comes out, like rookie year, if he comes out and be an absolute beast from the start, like they're hoping to be. It's going to be a tough team to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously,
start with
their offense was electric last year. Like they went through that run of scoring massive points, but they were leaking big points too. So it's I think it's key for them to shore up their defensive side of the ball. They had the 28th worst defense, I think, and let through the 4th most points, or something like that. So they were pretty bad in both those stats on the defensive side of the ball. But week 1, we got a massive game at Kansas City. They got the Chiefs at Kansas City. So week 1,
they open up, don't they? It's first game.
Yeah, they do. They are the very first game of Thursday night football or whatever it is on the 8th of September, I think it is. But it's a massive clash week 1. Probably can't see them getting up in that game. But 5 big games that I've earmarked for them. Week 5 at Green Bay against you guys. Obviously, divisional game. Took care of you 2 times last year, so your Packers won't forget that too quickly, I think. And we'll be looking to even the ledger a bit there. Week 7 at Baltimore. I think we're just with Lamar obviously signing on, getting Odell Beckham Jr. Obviously, the Ravens are going to be a bit of a force, so they're a bit of a probably good game to see where they're at. Maybe week 7. I've put down Vegas at home, so in Detroit. Week 8, just the week before the bye. So they got the bye week 9. Just probably going to would be good to go into the bye with a win, get a win on the board before the bye, sort of mid-year bye for the Lions. And then week 16 and week 17, 2 sort of danger games on the road. They obviously had that really good record last year, 8-2, finished off strong. 2 danger games away. Week 16, they got the Vikings in Minnesota, and then week 17 down in Dallas. So obviously, we know the Cowboys are going to be a pretty strong outfit, as they always are. So week 17 down there on the road, you just want to be putting some good football together that time of the year. So I just marked those as 2 pretty danger games as well.
A lot of 50-50 games in there.
Again,
if they get the win against Vegas, that just propels them forward. If they lose, then you go into the bye.
That's the thing. And just looking through their whole schedule, it was like, this game. Yeah, they should, but then there's every chance that they might drop it. So again, not the easiest schedule, but lots of winnable games there for the Lions.
As long as they keep that consistency that I had towards the end of last season, I think a couple of those question mark games hopefully will turn to wins for them.
Yeah,
it'll be good to see the Lions actually take out the division or make it to the playoffs, because it's been so long. And they're building a good team and they're building a good culture. It'd be nice to see them actually succeed. One thing I did forget to mention, though, Jameson Williams is out for the first 6 games for a suspension for gambling.
Gambling. I had something else to say, but that's all right. I'm sure we'll cross it when we go through all the numbers. The Vikings led the division last year, 13-4. Now, I'm not sure, Karts, if you have the stats on how they actually went. 13-4. I'll come back to that in a second. Couple of big wins they had. I'm not sure it was a win, but they were involved in one of the craziest games against the Bills.
See after.
So the 13-4, but I think they won. It was like 11-0 in 1-score games. If they all reversed, obviously they go to crap.
I don't have that.
No, it was, off the top of my head, they were the number 1 team in 1-score games. Like mid-year, they always do that. If the 1-score games were the other way, the Vikings will last. So real tight games they were really good in, and one of those games was the Bills. I'm not sure if it was a win towards the back of the year, but it was crazy. I think it was 2 or 3 scores in the last 90 seconds. It was an incredible game, but they went into the playoffs, and I predicted a loss to the Giants. You all laughed at me, but the Giants come away with a 31-24 win in Minnesota. So They went out in the first round.
He's got to get out his receipts, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, I did pick it. Go back. It's on the ticker. Just go back to it. But yes, they end up 13-4, but losing in the first week of the finals.
But that's the thing. They ended up 13-4, and like you said, they had so many close winnable games that they ended up taking away. They could win less games this season and still look like they've had a more impressive season than they did last year. Because last year wasn't necessarily fantastic. They were 28th in points allowed and 31st in yards allowed. Like, that is some shocking stats on the defensive end. To still walk away with 13-4 just shows how much of an offensive weapon like Justin Jefferson was. And
he is incredible.
Connection that him and Dirk Cousins had, like, right from the get-go, made such a massive difference.
Yeah, and speaking of those boys, it actually it'll be interesting to watch the new series Quarterback with. I watched the first episode last night, and it goes into their first couple of games. Obviously, there's 8 episodes, so we're only in early days, but they had a big win, and then they had beat the Packers first round, but then got smashed in the second round. And it's just so good to see the insides of, Justin Jefferson. You only see him a little bit, but Kirk Cousins, the way he thinks, what he's doing, it's an awesome show to watch, and I think I'm going to enjoy watching all 8 episodes for sure.
Yeah, but I haven't managed to delve into it yet, but I'm sure once we do, we'll talk about it a lot more on the show.
It'll be well talked about, yes.
Yeah.
Ins and outs.
Yeah, so in the draft, in the first round, they pick 23. They draft another wide receiver, hopefully pair up next to Justin Jefferson. His name is Jordan Addison from USC. Round 3, pick 102, they took quarterback Mekhi Blackman. Round 4, pick 134, safety Jay Ward. Round 5, pick 141, nose tackle Jacqueline Roy. So that's the first couple of the draft. And then major ins, we have probably the most important one actually to talk about is the defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. He's coming in from the Steelers because they needed, obviously, that's what I just spoke about the stats about the defense. They needed to improve heavily on the defensive end. So that's what they're hoping to do. They've also brought in edge Marcus Davenport from the Saints, cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. from the Cardinals, defensive end Dean Lowry for the Packers, tight end Josh Oliver from the Ravens. And then they're outs. The defensive end Delvin Tomlinson, who's gone to Cleveland, cornerback Patrick Peterson's gone to Pittsburgh, linebacker Eric Kendricks has gone to LA, and the tight end Irv Smith Jr. has gone to Cincinnati.
And Dalvin Cook's still up in the air as well, running back.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook is unsure.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Cook and Thielen? See the other one?
Yeah, Adam Thielen. He left last year, like late last year.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, he left this year. It was
because he went to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I thinking of? Oh, maybe they got in Hawkinson from Detroit. That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah. But yeah, they've a couple of experienced heads, and obviously Cook, much talked about, but you didn't have him there because he hasn't gone to another team yet. But
unofficially,
was a big part of their offense last year. So probably a big and could go a long way to how they perform this year if they can sort of fill that running back hole that he's left. But they've got obviously going to be having the toughest schedule of the lot for winning the division last year. Week 1, they've got the Bucks at home, so probably a nicer game for them week 1 there. Probably get away with a nice little win. Then the big 5 that I've earmarked for them, week 2 at Philly, Danny Boy.
Nice.
Go Birds.
Week 5, Kansas City at home. Week 7, the 49ers at home. So all 3 teams there that have won their respective divisions. So just tough games, but good gauges of where you are going within your conference. So you obviously want to go well against those teams that you're potentially going to be going against in your championship game. Is everyone in this conference? Is that right? Except the Chiefs. Sorry, except the Chiefs. But Philly and the 49ers, the other 2 there. And then again, I've earmarked the last 2 games of the year. Got Green Bay at home, and then the Lions in Detroit. Just their interdivisional games. You want to finish off strong. Looking at their schedule, I could see a lot of wins, but just you don't know, like with the movement of personnel, how different is the offense going to look out there this year? I could see a lot. I was able to go through and pick a lot of games. I was like, they should win this, they should win this, they should win this. But then if you sort of think about how close, or a lot of those one possession games that you said, it could. The flip of a coin could easily look very different for the Vikings this year. But we'll get into that over-under after we talk about the last team in the division.
I think also in this division, maybe not more so than others, but like the perfect case is they pantsed us week 1 last year, the Packers. They made us look ridiculous. That was when Jefferson had over 200 yards by halftime. Like, it was incredible. And then they came back to the Packers and we pantsed them, and Jefferson had about 13 or 14 yards. Like, even just within the division, the games can be almost a flip of a coin. Like, it's huge.
I remember you spruiking. You stopped Jefferson, they got nothing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably on the ticker there somewhere.
But that is the thing. It is an incredibly tight division. And those, like you're saying, Cass, those games you earmarked right at the end, that could be make or break.
Yeah.
Because I reckon it's going to be tighter than what it was. Because like we've said, they got 13-4 last year, but very easily could have been 4-13 if they had lost, or 4, whatever it was. The 11 games.
A lot, like we said, a lot tougher schedule this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're the games that I'd imagine they're expecting they should be in them at least, or winning them.
Yeah, and then the bye is in week 13 again, so later in the season for them with a run of 5 games, 5-game stretch to finish off.
Beautiful. And before we get into our last team, which who knows what it's going to be, we should mention that the second half of this review or preview is brought to you by American Connection with a K, American Connection at Instagram or americanconnection.com.au. Again, 10% off. Anyone who's actually looking out there to play, to get yourself a pair of boots or cleats, all the best gloves, all the best attire on the field, they are the ones to go for. 10% off any given, I was going to say American Connection. Any given Sunday is the code. Don't forget to go there. The Packers, let's get on to my boys. We finished off 8-9. We got beaten by the Lions at home in the last game, which was huge for us to not make the playoffs. Obviously, there's going to be some huge outs that we're going to talk about. I don't know what else I can say. The one positive that we did have, I think we were 3-8 and then went on a 5-game winning streak to give us a chance at making the playoffs. So being a Packers fan, I know that there's so much unknown with Jordan Love, but there's almost an expectation every year that we're going to be in playoff contention at least, like unless something major happens where, injuries and things like that. I just hope that Jordan can live up to those expectations because there's going to be a fair bit of them on him, I reckon.
Absolutely. So out of the past 12 years, the Packers have taken out 8 of those divisional titles, which is pretty crazy. So the Packers fans and everyone really always expects the Packers to be doing well, much to mine and Carter's dismay. But they are a very successful team. And out of the, 5 Super Bowls that have come out of this division, the Packers have 4 of them as well. So a lot of the Bears had the other one, 1986. Yep,
85, 86, I think, yeah.
Yep. So, most of the success is always good. Like, all the eyes are going to be on the Packers. Yeah. So it's just going to be super interesting. Can Jordan Love actually perform when he is the number one, not just like filling in when, Rodgers was injured?
And I think, like going back to that being I think there was a stat for the 2000s, the most successful teams. Like, you expect the Bradys to be up there, like the New England. I think the Chiefs were up there, but I reckon the Packers were 3rd or 4th for most wins within the 2000s. Like, it's just we are a very consistent team to a point, I guess, but we just haven't quite got that little bit more. So hopefully Jordan can live up to it. But I'm going to go and have a cup of tea while you go through these ins and outs, mate, because it's going to take about 25 minutes.
The ins will not. The outs definitely may. But we'll start with the draft anyway. Round 1, pick 13, just the linebacker Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. He's highly touted. And that was your pick swap that you had with the Jets, which was part of the Rodgers trade, which we'll get to. Round 2, pick 42, tight end Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. Round 2, pick 50, wide receiver Jaden Reed. Round 3, pick 78, tight end Tucker Kraft. Round 4, pick 116, defensive linesman Colby Wooden. They're the top 5 that I had. As I said, Packers have been super quiet in free agency, losing far more players than they've signed. But some notable ins is safety Tavarius Moore from the 49ers, the long snapper Matt Orzak from the Rams, and safety Jonathan Owens from the Texans. Now, more importantly, the outs. This is going to be a long list. Get ready, boys. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers has gone to the New York Jets.
What?
When? Hang on, you don't have to say the Jets, because I think 16 of our 18 have gone to the Jets. So let's just name who's there.
I actually don't have the whole 16 down.
That's good. Please don't.
I've just gone through some more notable ones. But yeah, the wide receiver, Alan Lazard, also got on the Jets. Alan.
Alan.
You lost your safety, Adrian Amos. He's just free agent at the moment. Defensive end, Jaron Reed. Jaron Reed's gone to Seattle. Defensive end, Dean Lowry, Minnesota. Wide receiver, Randall Cobb, Jets. Tight end, Robert Tonyan, Chicago. Tight end, Mercedes Lewis is a free agent. And there is more. I just don't have them all down in front of me.
Is there anyone still there?
No, we're all gone. We'll be right. We've got our core group. We only need the 52.
Well, that's you do have still have a relatively good offensive line. The Packers have a good running game, like Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. You got a little bit of a black hole in the safety position, but you did pick up one. So
and a young wide receiving core to go with our young QB, which hopefully will take us.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Sometimes you get a couple of young, keen players all in one room together. All you're going to do is motivate each other. Everyone's going to be like, they think we're going to go nowhere. They think we're not going to play. Not going to win that many games. And then you just get them in the same room, same sort of mindset, and you create a winning culture from that, from the hunger.
I reckon there's going to be an expectation from myself and the other Packers fans, but outside of us, like you said, no one's expecting us to go that well this year, which I think will play well for us.
No, and as I said, you've taken out, 8 of the past 12 years, but then the bookies, which I'm sure we'll get to, but the bookies have you as the biggest underdogs to take out the division this year.
Cash money.
And just looking ahead to your schedule, week 1, as we touched on, you're at Chicago. You actually got the Bears on the bookend, so you've got them week 1 and week 18. So I don't know. Do they do that for
it's the greatest rivalry.
Such big games and such big rivalry.
They're usually divisional games to finish, so that's
No,
I guess them two being the biggest divisional rivals, the Packers and the Bears.
Yeah,
it's entertaining.
Obviously, that goes without saying. That was one of the big 5 games, and it's going to be, I think, key to see, because what was it? Aaron Rodgers? He's owned the Bears for however long. Is that what he used to say? I've got the keys or something like that.
He's the mayor. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
hopefully he handed him over to Jordan.
The Bears pretty keen to come out and change that. But then week 4, the Lions at Green Bay at Lambeau Field. I've got that down as a big one, obviously, interdivisional. Week 10 and week 16, traveling to Pittsburgh week 10 against the Steelers. I think probably ended up having a winning season last year, but only just. Under Kenny Pickett, probably Kenny Pickett improving a little bit. The Steelers probably maybe a little bit of a sleeper team. I'm not too sure. I don't know what to make of them just yet, but definitely a big game for you guys. And then as I touched on earlier, the Panthers we're expecting to be a bit improved. So week 16 on the road down there, and then obviously week 18, as we touched on already, you got the Bears at home at Lambeau, probably looking to finish off strong and take the keys back, I think.
No. They're kind of involved.
No, the keys from Chicago, take them back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're going to win week 1, and you're going to need the keys back in week 18.
No.
You've got the early bye, week 6, so very early bye, so a long stretch of football coming into playoffs. Don't know whether there'll be stats to show that how teams do with the early bye, the mid-year bye, and the late bye. But, a lot of football post-bye leading into the playoffs. That may not be a factor because you're probably not going to be playing in the postseason, but just something to note there.
The only thing that worries me about that is having a young side. You'd almost rather a little bit later so they can be a bit fresher leading in, but, that's the only thing that worries me.
Yeah.
That probably leads us straight into the odds. Cardi, you're the one who's picking this week.
I am.
I'm only picking the unders and overs as you tell me, because I think I'd be too biased if I sat down and actually went through it. So I'm just going to go off the cuff when you say Danny, do you have the odds or Cardi, do you have the odds?
I've got them. So I'll run through.
So when you say the odds, I'm going to pick them from there. But otherwise, tell us what you've got.
Okay. All right.
So you go and tell us what you've got. What have you got? Tell me.
So PointsBet,
what have you got?
Odds. They've got your Packers as the biggest underdogs, as Danny said, at $5.25.
Dogs.
Third favourites are the Bears at $4.50. Second favourites are the Vikings at $4.30, despite having that 13-4 record last year. And they've actually got the Lions as favourites at $2.25.
Wow. That's a little bit shy. I thought that would have been swapped.
This is actually the tightest division that we've come across so far in terms of the betting market. Yeah, interesting. I would have thought maybe Vikings and Lions swapped, but
I think the Vikings at that $4.30, like they have only improved, brought in a new DC. I think that $4.30 is pretty juicy, really.
I think it's pretty juicy, and that just might be indicative of like losing the likes of Cook and Thielen, and then obviously the schedule's a bit harder. They got some tougher games, but yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a bit of value there at $4.30, and so then off the back of that, I went through before checking the overs and unders. I went and picked everyone's game. So I had the Vikings going 10-7, and the bookies had their over under at 8.5.
Oh,
so
8.5. That's low. That's low for a team.
That was definitely lower than what I thought. So I was happy to be on the overs there.
Yeah.
You're going overs?
I'll take overs. Yeah, you carry on with what you're going to chat.
No, I think it's like 8.5. You think it's low, but like literally what you boys just said, they're going to be the hardest of the runs now because they finished first, and so many of those games last year were 1-point games. Like it could quite easily go under, just purely because of, 2 or 3 games where they've got the 49ers, they've got Philly, they've got Kansas. There's 3 probably 40-60 games where you're thinking that so could quite easily be unders, I reckon.
I did. I was going to give them 11, but I eased it back to 10, and then I checked the over under, and I was like, oh, that's a bit surprising. But and then the Lions I also had going 10-7, and their over under, is 9.5.
Oh, hang on,
a little bit closer there, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'll back you that one.
I'm with you. I reckon I can't see them going much more than 10 wins, because I still think they're an improving team and they're only going to keep on getting better. So I wouldn't put them at much higher than 10-7. But so obviously we agree with the bookies, and that's probably for a reason.
So I thought coming in third for my predictions, I had the Packers going 8-9.
Oh, I think that's very generous of you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, just looking at their schedule, there was too many games that I thought were just winnable. I in my head, I was like, Packers are losing this division. But just actually looking at the schedule, I was like, no, they can win this. They can win this. So I've got them at 8-9, and the bookies had them at 7.5.
Yeah. Geez, you're good at this.
So, I've been thereabouts on the money. So,
as much as I've given you so much shit, Tmac, about losing Rodgers and that Love's not going to do anything, I do have a little bit of faith in Love. Like, he has spent 5 years in QB2 in that seat under Aaron Rodgers. He would have learned a huge amount by doing that. He's been around the team. It's not like he's coming to a new team when he's stepping out onto the field. So I really do think he is going to come out and surprise a lot of people and play well. So I think, what did you say, over 7.5? I think that's easily doable.
They've got the line, yeah.
Yeah, I think that should be doable, especially with the schedule, like you said, Car. It's not necessarily the hardest, not the easiest. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, sorry, mate, you go.
I was going to say, and to your point, Danny, I kind of agree. Love might be the 4th-ranked quarterback in this division because you've got Cousins, Goff, and Fields, but doesn't mean he's not going to be good. Like he might actually perform quite well. He's had the couple of years sitting under one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I think they're going to come out and surprise people. He might not star and all that sort of thing. And as I said, he might be the 4th-rated quarterback in this division, but I can still see him. Yeah, 8-9. I think they're going to. Oh, I think they're going to go.
That's just the penny dropping. That Jesus Christ, we're actually we're going all right here.
Surprise a few people this year.
Yeah. Yep. Good. I'm pretty happy with that. I think.
And just on that, like doing my research for this, I was reading like other people's previews and stuff of the division and seeing where people thought each team were going to finish. And there was multiple that said Packers are going to take out the division. And to take that,
I've seen a little bit of that.
To take that $5.25 odds, because they're like, okay, we lost a lot, but that young core is going to come out hungry, and they've got so much to prove.
Someone once told me there's good mistakes and bad mistakes made, and I think a good mistake would be learning from our mistakes, and a bad mistake would be picking against the Packers this year. So. Nice. 8-9. I think grand scheme of things, 8-9, you'd be like, actually, that'll be a very good year. But depending how we start or finish, that'll obviously change whether that is a good year.
Technically, it's a losing season, but for you, it's probably a winning season, realistically.
Yeah, it would, like a new offense, things like that. You got
to take Jordan Love. It's all about the development and growth of Jordan Love. You take 8-9, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
In what is probably going to be a pretty tight division. Are you taking the over?
Yeah.
going over 7.5.
Oh, I'm always going to take and back my boys. Lucky last.
Bringing in the rear, coming in last, I had the Bears going at 6 and 11, and the bookies actually had them at 7.5 over under. So I've gone the
very
unders.
good division by the bookies.
Yeah, very tight.
And,
so, that's the first time I've taken the under on it.
And it was always going to be a tight division. The bookies going 7.5. Obviously, they're putting a little bit more faith in Fields to progress and become a pass threat just as much as he was a run threat. Which, with getting more weapons around him, like DJ Moore, there's a high chance that he is going to definitely improve. And it's just how big of a leap he is going to take. Is he going to take that Jalen Hurts step, or is he just going to take a little small step forward and still try and keep on rushing the ball? And that will almost determine whether they're going to win or lose games.
Could not have said it better myself. It was literally what I was about to say. It's like, we know the QB is such an important and it is the position, but no more so than at the Bears. Like, if he takes that next step, they've put some weapons around him. They've given him a chance. But if Fields doesn't take that step, then they're going downhill very quickly, I think.
And as Netflix did say, the QB is the most important position in all sports.
Yes. That's Peyton Manning says that. Well, I don't want to give it away, but the very first thing that comes up is Peyton Manning saying that.
Everyone's seen the preview.
Okay, good. Thank God.
Like we touched on, just those danger games against the other lower teams, I reckon they're still 50-50 games for the Bears, and with a few of them being on the road, like that's where, you might be expecting them to get their wins, but could just as easily drop them. So, and like you hit the nail on the head, Danny, it all comes down to whether Justin Fields takes that next 2 steps or it's just a half a step. So, I think 6 and 11 for mine.
Nice.
Yeah, I reckon maybe 7 games. Well, are they going to get that 8th game win and go 8-9? Probably not. So I'm taking the unders as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not confident in Justin Fields. So we'll see what happens.
Overall, I'm going to have the Vikings taking out the division, though. I'm going to take them at 4:30 there.
Yeah, that is probably the juicier one. As much as I do want the Lions to, Justin Jefferson is going to be so hard to bet against, and obviously there's question marks looming around what Cousins is going to do next season and how many teams are going to throw a giant bag at him or try and take him away from the Vikings. They're already being spoken about now, and we haven't even got into the 2023 season.
They can both take playoffs, but I still think the Vikings will take it out.
Yeah. So, let's have Vikings take it out, but Lions still scrape in as a wild card spot because they deserve it. So I think the last time the Lions, what did I say before, was 1993 was the last time they took out the division. Damn. And then it was Vikings, obviously last year, Bears 2018, and Packers in 2021. That was the last time they each took out the division.
Yeah, so the Lions are due.
They are due, but are they going to do it?
They got as good a chance.
Bookies seem to know things, so.
Nice, boys. I think that wraps it up nicely. There is a couple of things we probably should mention, or I don't know if you boys saw that the NFL come out today and officially named that the New York Jets will be the team that will be watched by the Hard Knocks. I forgot the show. So I think they're due today or yesterday to start their mini camps, and they're already started filming.
I think you got to expect this is going to be one of the highest viewed series of Hard Knocks for sure. Just so much interest in the Aaron Rodgers story and all that sort of stuff. So this one will be, I think, breaking some records for him.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, boys. We've done very well. We had a little bit of time constraints, so we've done well to sneak it all in. Make sure that you follow us on all of the socials: YouTube's Any Given Sunday Australia Podcast, Instagram anygivensunday.au, Twitter AGSAU Podcast. We've already said all of our names. We're on Threads. Cardi, you mentioned last week, are we going to be on Threads? We are on Threads. I don't know what we're doing on it, but we're doing on it. So get around us. Yep. Anyone got anything to finish with?
Should make mentions. Probably at the end of the episode, so maybe not many people will hear it, but we have chosen our preferred app to go with for fantasy football. We're going with Sleeper. So we're just in the process of finalising the rules between the three of us, and then probably within the next week or two, we'll start to open up the league to all of you beautiful people, the AGS fam, and we'll get that underway, and we'll pick a draft date and get all that sorted before the start of the season. So very exciting. Also, we've been teasing it for weeks, maybe months, that we potentially may have a merch store coming up. We are getting awfully close to getting that sorted. So just stay tuned for that as well. Yeah, huge merch store. Very, absolutely. Some very cool stuff in that merch store too.
Absolutely. Good work, lads. Speak to you same time next week.
Sounds good.
Hopefully we'll be all dripped out by then as well.
Oh my God, who are we doing next week?
Oh, yeah. Well, I figured we've gone NFC South, AFC South, NFC North.
It's got to be the AFC North. So
AFC North it is.
We'll be talking
Bagels,
about the
Ravens, Steelers,
Browns.
and the other Browns. I'll say, and the other team.
and the others in that division.
Yeah. Nice. All right, boys. We will speak to you very soon. Who wants to finish it?
Fly, Eagles, fly!
See you, boys.
Yeah.
Gotcha.